What if a single photograph could completely change the way you look at history? Sometimes, one frozen moment in time can reveal truths far stranger, darker, or more beautiful than anything we could imagine. Picture this. In 1940, 3 women in American munitions factories were handed something called a protective bra. It wasn't made to look fashionable, it was a strange, plastic shield, believed to guard them from radiation and deadly chemicals. The image of a woman proudly wearing this bizarre invention is both surreal and haunting, a reminder of how people once trusted science without question, even when the solutions looked almost absurd. Or step further back to the late 19th century, into the shadowed rooms of Chinese opium dens. Here, men and women lay collapsed under the poisonous haze of smoke. For Britain, opium was more than a drug, it was a weapon used to weaken an empire, and a symbol of one of the darkest chapters of the Qing dynasty. From strange inventions to haunting tragedies, from forgotten faces to shocking scandals, these photographs are not just pictures, they are windows. And once you look inside, the past will never feel the same again. So, are you ready to turn your vision of history upside down? Let's begin this journey through time. The 1,960 seconds in America were a time of rebellion, music, and a longing for freedom. And nothing captured that spirit better than a hippie wedding. Imagine the scene. Barefoot brides in simple dresses woven with flowers, grooms with long hair and beads, surrounded by friends swaying to guitars under the open sky. It wasn't about luxury or traditions, it was about love without rules, a generation daring to create its own world. Now, let's step back a century earlier, to the 1,850 seconds, where medicine itself was taking its first, trembling steps into modernity. In one haunting photograph, you can see a surgical team preparing to use ether as anesthesia for one of the very first times. Before this, operations meant screaming agony, patients often restrained by sheer force. But here, for the first time, a cloud of vapor brought silence, a fragile hope that science might ease human suffering. Yet, while science was progressing in hospitals, justice in America was taking a darker path. In early 20th century North Carolina, men arrested for the simple crime of homelessness or joblessness were shackled into convict wagons. Guarded by overseers with dogs, they were forced into hard labor that looked alarmingly like slavery reborn under a new name. The law had supposedly abolished chains, but in reality, it had only changed their form. And then, halfway across the world, we glimpse a lighter moment. Tokyo, 1932. A bicycle courier speeds through the bustling streets, balancing trays of food from a restaurant. It's a simple scene, but a reminder of how even ordinary snapshots, a man doing his daily job, become extraordinary windows into the rhythm of a city long gone. Hollywood in the 1,960 seconds was drenched in glamour, but few stars shone brighter than Sophia Loren. In one photograph from that era, she appears with effortless elegance, her dark eyes glowing, her smile both playful and commanding. Lauren didn't need heavy makeup or extravagant costumes to captivate audiences. Her beauty was natural, radiant, and paired with a fierce talent that made her one of the most unforgettable actresses of the golden age of cinema. But not all photographs from the past radiate beauty. Some leave us unsettled, as if carrying secrets too heavy to explain. Take, for example, an old photograph believed to have been taken near the end of the 19th century. 2 women stand on the porch of a wooden house, their long light dresses catching the faint sunlight, yet their faces are stiff, their expressions eerily lifeless. Their thick hair hangs like dark veils, covering their hands and much of their bodies. Looking at the picture today, it feels almost designed to frighten future generations, as though these women knew their gaze would echo into our nightmares. Then, the mood shifts to a single moment of violence that shocked an entire nation. On the 12th of October 1960, Japan witnessed a tragedy live on television. During a political rally, Otoya Yamaguchi, just 17 years old, rushed the stage and plunged a samurai sword into the leader of Japan's Socialist Party. In mere seconds, history was rewritten in blood. The assassination didn't just end a life, it weakened communism's presence in Japan, changing the course of the nation's politics forever. To this day, the grainy broadcast footage and photographs remain chilling evidence of how one act can alter the fate of millions. And in stark contrast, another image from the same decade brings us back to everyday humanity. A lunch break at the Disney Film Company in 1961. For the world, Disney was and still is a magical kingdom of dreams, fairy tales, and talking mice. But for the employees in this candid photograph, it was simply a workplace. They sit at cafeteria tables, chatting, laughing, or quietly eating. To them, it was just another day at the office, and yet, without their work, those magical films might never have existed. In 1956, a single photograph forever sealed Sophia Loren's place among the icons of cinema. Taken during the filming of Dreams Come True, it shows the actress waist-deep in water, her figure framed by rippling waves. There is no grand set, no elaborate costume, only her natural beauty, luminous and unshakable. The shot became more than just a publicity image. It was a symbol of Loren's timeless charm, capturing a moment where elegance and raw humanity merged into something unforgettable. But while Hollywood glistened with golden light across the ocean and back in time, America was plunged into shadows. In the 1,930 seconds, during the height of the Great Depression, countless men roamed the streets with empty pockets and heavier hearts, desperately searching for work. One haunting photo shows them lining up, each with worn coats and vacant eyes, not just seeking jobs, but seeking dignity in a nation that had seemingly abandoned them. And in the dark corners of wartime Asia, the cruelty of humanity reached unimaginable depths. Hidden behind closed doors, the Japanese Imperial Army established Unit 731, a so-called research facility led by Shiro Ishii. But this was no ordinary laboratory. Here, prisoners of war were used as living test subjects, vivisections performed without anesthesia, limbs frozen until they shattered, pregnant women experimented on with unspeakable brutality. These horrors, once revealed, shook the world, yet Ishii himself never faced trial. Instead, in a shocking twist of history, he was granted immunity by American forces in exchange for his research. He lived freely, dying years later of throat cancer, never once punished for his crimes. Meanwhile, back in the United States in 1912, another kind of injustice was quietly documented. A photograph captures three little oyster gatherers from South Carolina. Josie, just 6 years old, Berda, also 6, and Sophie, 10. Their faces are tired but defiant, their small hands already hardened by labor, meant for grown men. At an age when children should have been playing, learning, and dreaming, these girls were bent over baskets of oysters, symbols of an era when childhood itself was often sacrificed to survival. By 1943, America was still recovering from the Great Depression, and although the war effort was reshaping industry, social inequality remained etched into everyday life. In one photograph, two well-dressed women sit comfortably, their faces calm and almost dismissive, while beside them stands a poor woman in ragged clothes, ignored as though invisible. Their expressions reveal not fear, not pity, but indifference. It is a chilling snapshot of how society's divisions can strip a human being of dignity with nothing more than a turned face. Out of that same despairing era came a strange and desperate form of entertainment: the dance marathons. Across America, couples would sign up to dance for days, weeks, sometimes even months, clinging to one another, swaying endlessly to the rhythm of survival. Sleep was forbidden, exhaustion was constant, and only the last pair standing would win a prize. For the audience, it was spectacle. For the dancers, it was often the difference between starvation and one more day of hope. These events became known as dancing to death, a tragic metaphor for the struggle of millions just trying to endure. And then, from tragedy to wonder, another photograph emerges, one almost too unbelievable to be true. On the 26th of August, 1933, Captain Khan captured a giant sea devil. The enormous creature, its form alien and fearsome, was hauled ashore, astonishing onlookers. Was it a marvel of the ocean or simply a beast in the wrong place at the wrong time? The picture stands as proof that nature still holds mysteries we can scarcely comprehend. Yet no mystery is more devastating than hunger. A photograph from Africa in 1992 shows a starving woman lying in a cart, too weak to rise, her thin hands stretched outward in a silent plea for food. She waits for her turn to enter a relief center, but her body tells a deeper truth: that hunger is not just an emptiness in the stomach, but a breaking of the human spirit. This image, like countless others from famine, captures not just suffering, but the unbearable weight of waiting when every second is life itself slipping away. In 1898 Japan, behind the sliding doors of quiet wooden houses, Geishas prepared for the day with a ritual of morning hygiene. Photographs show them seated together, combing their sleek black hair, painting their faces with delicate precision, and readying themselves to meet wealthy clients. To modern eyes, the image is intimate, almost tender, but beneath the elegance lies a reminder of the discipline, sacrifice, and centuries-old tradition that shaped their lives. A few decades later, in Paris of 1935, people gathered for something unusual, a competition for the most elegant cigarette smoker. Men and women posed dramatically, cigarettes held like fashion accessories, exhaling clouds of smoke, as if they were competing in style rather than health. At the time, smoking was not seen as deadly. It was glamorous, sophisticated, even aspirational. Looking back, it feels almost surreal, knowing how many lives tobacco would later claim. Not all photographs of the 1,930 seconds, however, are light-hearted. In North Carolina, a family portrait captured the Lawson family father, Charlie, his wife, and their children. At first glance, it looks like a typical snapshot, stiff poses, solemn faces, the kind so common in that era. But history adds a chilling twist. Just days after this photograph was taken, Charlie Lawson murdered his entire family before turning the gun on himself. The picture, once innocent, became a horrifying prophecy frozen in time, proof that sometimes the darkest tragedies hide behind ordinary smiles. And from the crowded streets of New York in 1903 comes a very different kind of image, a web of telephone lines crisscrossing above the city. Thick, tangled wires stretch across rooftops and poles, forming a chaotic sky of cables. It looks almost like a forest of iron and electricity, a reminder of how technology once appeared messy and overwhelming before it was refined into the clean systems we take for granted today. In 1959, the world crowned Corien Rocheffer of the Netherlands as Miss World, and a photograph from that moment shows why she captivated millions. Draped in elegance, her poise and grace seemed almost untouchable, embodying the glamour and ideals of beauty from that era. But beyond the sparkling crown and radiant smile, the image also reflects the cultural values of its time, how nations defined beauty, and how women were placed at the center of international spectacle. From pageantry to endurance, another story leaps forward in time to China. During the Zhengkai Marathon, elite Kenyan runner Jacqueline Naitipe Kiplimo made a decision that cost her victory, yet earned her the admiration of the world. At the 10-kilometer mark, she noticed a disabled Chinese athlete struggling to drink water at a hydration station. Instead of racing ahead, she slowed down, matching his pace, helping him drink at every stop. For nearly 28 kilometers, she sacrificed her chance at the $10,000 prize, finishing second instead of first. Later, she said, "I never regretted helping that person. I did it to touch someone's heart." That photograph of her running side by side with the struggling athlete became a symbol of humanity stronger than competition. But history also records moments that now feel strange, even absurd. Take the Tour de France in 1927. Back then, athletes believed cigarettes could boost performance, claiming they opened up the lungs. Some riders lit up before climbing hills, convinced that smoke gave them strength. In one photograph, cyclists puff on cigarettes as casually as if they were sipping water. Looking back, the irony is painful. Instead of opening their lungs, the habit only filled them with disease. Many of those men would later pay the ultimate price for a deadly misunderstanding. And then, from a factory in Los Angeles in 1942, we see another kind of story captured in a single frame. An American of Chinese descent, working diligently during a time when immigrants faced suspicion, prejudice, and hostility. The photo is not dramatic, just a man at work. Yet it speaks volumes about resilience, about the countless individuals whose labor built the backbone of industries, even when their loyalty was questioned by the very nation they served. Not every photograph from the past captures grandeur or tragedy. Some show the tenderness of small, almost whimsical moments. One rare image from 1850 depicts a tiny ceremony, the funeral of a squirrel. Children stand solemnly, some holding flowers, their faces full of innocent seriousness. To them, this tiny animal deserved a proper farewell, as if it were a family member. Today, the picture feels both touching and bittersweet, proof that even in an age of hardship, the human heart found space for compassion, no matter how small the creature. Then comes a scene of shocking contrast, the first public striptease in the world, performed not in a nightclub, but on Wall Street. In the roaring 1,000 920 seconds, American financial tycoons were drowning in wealth and arrogance. For the birthday of the stock exchange, they staged what newspapers later called the corporate strip show. The event scandalized the public, but soon, such bold displays became popular among the elite. The photograph captures not just a performance, but a culture, an age where excess was celebrated and morality dismissed as old-fashioned. Together, these images from innocence to decadence, from resilience to despair, remind us that history is not just a sequence of wars and rulers. It is laughter and cruelty, kindness and arrogance, beauty and tragedy, all frozen in fleeting moments that cameras mercifully preserved. And that brings us to the end of this journey through forgotten photographs. Each picture we've seen is more than ink and paper. It is a fragment of human experience, a window into the emotions, struggles, and dreams of those who came before us. If you felt moved, shocked, or even inspired, that's the magic of history. It refuses to remain silent. It speaks through the faces of children gathering oysters, through the eyes of starving women, through the grace of Sophia Loren, and even through the laughter of marathon dancers who refuse to stop moving. So before you go, let me ask you, which photograph touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to know. And if you want to continue uncovering the hidden stories behind these remarkable images, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me for the next chapter in our journey through time. Until then, take care, and never stop looking at the past with new eyes.